being homeless right now in Rutland?
I mean, it sucks. Everybody judges me and my family. Everybody thinks that we are like below them somehow, that they're above us.
How does going through the challenge right now of being homeless change the way you see the world?
It made me an adult. It made me realize that my mom was right about a lot of things. No matter what, she was always right about everything.
It's been roughly around, I say 8 years altogether in total. And that's through winter, spring, summer, and fall. And the experiences that I had were somewhat terrible, going from couch surfing to being outdoors to, just the average things a homeless person would go through. But at the same time, knowing that at the end of this road, at the end of this tunnel, there would be a silver light, which there was.
I had been homeless for approximately 10 years. When I first became homeless, it was pride. I didn't want to ask for help from anyone, and I thought I'd be able to get out and back on my feet again on my own. But it turns out that everyone needs help. It's just asking for it that makes it hard. Some of the time I was homeless, I had a place to live. Other times I didn't. Sometimes I was lucky enough to have a car. Other times I didn't.
But I did learn a lot. I learned how to be a better individual. I learned how to be a better mom. I learned how to take care of my family, what it's like to need money and get money and make sure that my family has what they need, especially because the Christmas is coming,
Mm-hmm. What are you most looking forward to when it comes to finding your own apartment and getting into your own apartment?
Not having to worry about, renewing my room, not have to worry about not being able to style things that I want to because I live in a hotel.
Things got a little rough, they got a little rocky. Some things just don't come out the way that you expect. It was like kind of frigid and, meeting people that, I became accustomed to meeting and friends that were so-called friends. And you know how it goes when you're out there in the world and, you're trying to make a life for yourself. And the beginning of everything starts to happen all at once and taking on things that just were overwhelming, going in and out of the hospital because of my homeless situation. And, it was kind of rough.
It's scary. It's not knowing if you're going to be able to have a roof over your head for that night, or if you're going to be stuck sleeping outside, and if it's going to be too cold, or if it's too hot to wander the streets all day, or if it's safe to park your car in this parking lot, or is it going to get towed away? Is something bad going to happen?
I have to stay positive about things. If I don't maintain some level of hope, then I'm no use to my clients, and I shouldn't be here.
It's been interesting to see how the community has responded to the pandemic and how they've been really creative in trying to provide services for all of our folks who are in need. And I think that is a motivator, just seeing other people kind of adapting and overcoming it. And even I feel like clients have seemed more motivated now in a weird way. And they're motivated not just only to find housing for themselves, but also to make some pretty serious life changes. Kind of seeing the resilience that people have has been a good way to stay motivated.
I try to be positive that everybody's going to make it when they first come in. And sometimes you see it tip the other way, and then you kind of pull back a little bit and let them do their thing. But when you really can tell someone's going to make it is their drive. Every single thing that you're asking of them to do, whether it's a suggestion or more of maybe a harder push, when they come back with you with more than you've asked for, you can just tell that things are going to work out.
The best way that I have found to stay motivated is to not look at the giant picture. Just like our mission says, one day, one household, one person at a time. And that keeps me able to keep things focused.
Especially when things are really tough and the need is greater, I'm even more motivated. So I like to rise to the challenge. I get to see the fruits of the work. It might not happen all at once, but for every person you see leave with a smile on their face, for every lease up you go to when somebody has a home, like that's what keeps me going.
Doing this for the last 8 years, I've really learned a lot about hope, and that hope can happen sometimes when you don't expect it, as well as when you are least expecting change to happen, change can happen. And you see folks be successful that you hoped were going to be successful a long time ago, and then all of a sudden the light switch goes on and they're like, yes, I can do this. And the confidence is built and they turn out amazing.
I'm not judgmental when I see somebody that's struggling with homelessness, or see the way that people are living in the hotels and more understanding of the reason for their mannerisms and why they're doing what they're doing. So I can view things when I'm driving down the street and seeing somebody struggling as not so much pointing my finger like they're homeless, but that they're struggling to get to a certain point and they'll be able to get through it at some point.
I truly believe now that you never know what somebody is experiencing. What you see on the outside doesn't necessarily tell the story on the inside. So if anything, it's made me less judgmental and more kind and empathetic to people.
There's a variety of people who are homeless. There's people who work full-time jobs and are still living in their car because they're not meeting their income that they need to be able to get housed. And then there's people who I see who are addicts and stuff like that, who really are trying to get help and trying to move forward, and yet have so many obstacles that they have to go through that, you know, sometimes they feel like giving up. And so I guess I look at people differently. I don't put everyone like in the same box anymore.
It definitely can make the world seem a little bit grittier, because you're really meeting people, you know, where they're at in some pretty tough situations. But on the flip side of that, when you have those success stories and people who, you know, strive and meet those goals that they have for themselves, that is really powerful to just see that no matter what somebody's rock bottom is, they can always, you know, come up.
You never know what someone's going through when you run into them in the grocery store or on the street. If someone's rude to you and you're just like, grr. But you don't know what they're going through and what their level of stressors are. That, I guess, may be a piece of it, as I really try to think about that when I'm, whether it's, you know, road rage coming on or someone's being rude in a grocery store or someplace else. It's like, okay, take a breath and what's going on in their life, because I have absolutely no idea.
Because of the experience that I've had, I already see it a different way because I've walked it before. I was homeless in 2009 and in 2012, where I was told that if you needed a place to go, it was to call the Mission. So it was pretty real.
Homelessness has taught me that although the world is harsh, there's still good people. And it was also a bigger life lesson of financial responsibility.
A roof, somewhere for me and my family to go at all times, not have to worry about not having a place to lay our head at night.
When I hear the word home, I think of my kids. I think of 4 walls, a roof, something that keeps us together and safe.
I give it to everybody when I start working with them. Breathe. Breathe. Because there's so much stress and I need to get it done, I need to get housed, I need this, but you've got to breathe, because when you don't, you block out everything else that's going on and you can't focus in on what you need to do.
To try, you know, every day. I think even when, you know, you don't want to keep trying, you just gotta keep pushing along.
Seek the help that's available. There are a lot of people who hesitate or they wait, and there's a lot of reasons why someone might not feel comfortable with that. But there are people, HPC included, who truly want to help. And so it's hard to ask for help, but that would be the number one thing.
Don't be homeless. Like, figure out a way. I mean, like, it sucks, but it is what it is. I mean, once you're on the street, like, there is no, you gotta think. Like, you gotta make a choice. You're either gonna be out in the cold or you're gonna figure something out. Like, especially if you have a family, there's no thinking. You just gotta do it.
There's one piece of advice that I would give to someone that's homeless today would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't let your pride get in the way, because no one's thinking poorly of you. No one wants to see you fail.
It's so hard to explain to folks what it is that we do. Because it's not just about filling out applications and advocating with landlords. It's almost advocating with the client for themselves to get them to see that they are worth it. That's a big thing about what we do in this work. It's helping to build the client up. It's not just selling the client to a landlord or other service providers. It's selling the client to themselves.
That it could happen to anybody at any point in time, and I think this pandemic has really proved that. Help your community where you can, whether that's donating to the food shelf or donating your time. I know that's a huge thing. That's come up a lot in doing the work, especially during the pandemic, is kind of just being able to meet people's needs. Just anything that you can give back to the community, can really help the homeless population overall.
If you visit Boston or you visit Chicago or you visit New York City, homelessness is very much in your face, and it's not in your face in Rutland, Vermont. But it's here. I think that even now, for doing this work as long as I've done it, people still don't really believe truly that it's as big an issue as it really is. And when I talk about numbers to folks about how many people are in hotels that we're working with, their eyes get big like, oh my gosh, how is that possible? Well, it is. People's circumstances happen because of maybe choices that they've made or maybe stuff that they didn't have any control over. And, people have a mindset of what a homeless person looks like. And it's because we see it on television, we see it in the media, that, they're living in a cardboard box in an alley somewhere, and that's not the case.
There's so many people right now that are looking for places, but they're really eager to find a place to call their own. I don't know, it's a lot right now in 2020 with how many people. It's the numbers are outrageous, but I'm seeing more people being focused, and even when they're not ready to get into a place, whether it be mature-wise or financially, they're still doing it and then figuring it out as they go.
And I think a lot of times when you hear someone being homeless, you automatically assume they're not doing anything to better themselves, when that's really actually the farthest thing from the truth. They are trying everything to better themselves, and sometimes obstacles just get in the way and you keep feeling like you're being pushed down. And I would want people to not judge them and just really get their story, talk to them. They're just like you and I, no different.
I would say don't be afraid to help. Don't be afraid to give that 50 cents or $1 to that man on the corner, or offer to buy that woman a cup of coffee. Also, don't be afraid to donate to the agencies. Like, any little bit helps, any big amount helps. Anything that anyone can ever do helps.
I think that we're all working so fast, but we're doing good work, and we've really just, I think, adapted. We've had a lot of changes from working from home to back in the office to, mandates and stuff like that, but as an agency, we've ebbed and flowed through it and adjusted the way we've had to. I think that even though it's been a tough year pandemic-wise, I think it was a good year for our organization and what we've been able to do as an organization to help our folks in the community.
If I have my own apartment, been in my apartment for a year, going on over a year and a couple of months, so everything has been transitioning now, getting better. everything now is right where it needs to be. And like I said before, I have an apartment now, so everything is in transition. And I'm now in college and, taking on courses and learning about business and just doing what needs to be done now. So, I don't plan on being homeless anymore.
My grandchildren are now asking a lot of questions, asking about the folks down there and their moms explaining them to them and saying, well, they need to go and work with your Mari and the people she works with. So she gets very upset when she sees someone who's without a home. And the really cool thing is to be able to say to her, you know what Mari did today? Mari was able to go to a lease up where somebody who has not had a home for a really long time now has a home for her and her children. So that is, that's one of the really cool things I get to do, is to share that and see and watch the empathy in them grow. Maybe at some point they'll take the reins and they'll actually see an end to homelessness. That would be amazing. That'd be a cool legacy.